Welcome to the Pat White Show.
If you will allow me a moment to give you an update on what's going on with that potential casino in New Haven, Indiana, let me tell you what's going on. A state senator from Huntington and Wabash counties, his name is Andy Zay, he introduced a bill into the Indiana Senate that will allow the casino to be moved from southern Indiana, where it is now, up to New Haven, Indiana, on the east side of New Haven, right there on 469 and Highway 30. Now, you're going to say, who is Andy Zay? Well, he's from Wabash and Huntington County. No, he's not a representative of Allen County. And some might wonder, well, why didn't any of the representatives or state senators from Fort Wayne or Allen County introduce the documentation to get this moved? Simple. It's political suicide. Anybody in this county who votes to say, yes, I want to bring that up here, is going to face a major re-election hurdle. It's just the way it is, folks. It's the way life works. So it takes a senator from another county that doesn't have anything to do with this situation to introduce it. Now, what's that mean? Well, that means that they're giving a look at moving the casino from where it is now to New Haven. And there's some strings attached to it. One of which they've got to do a $500 million build. But you got to start out with 50% of that, which is $250 million. You decide you want to leave within 5 years, you got to pay $50 million to sell or transfer the license. And another bunch of other things where the money is going to. Now, here's the big thing you need to know. From this casino, a certain portion of the money they take in is going to be spread around to the state, to the city, to the county, to New Haven. About everybody's got their hand out and they're all going to get a share. Take a look at the numbers. There's where it is. They're anticipating X amount of dollars coming in, and they're saying that percent of that is going to go to the city, the state, the school system, you name it. Now, that means that those people are going to get that kind of money every single year. Not once, every single year, as long as they keep people coming in. The estimation is that it could bring in anywhere from 1 million, 1.5 million people every year from Ohio and northern Indiana, and completely surrounding us, who may want to go to this facility. Now, between you and me, I do not gamble. Sorry, don't do it. But if they got a nice steakhouse, yes, I'm going to go there. If they have concerts on their venue with the concert hall they're putting in, yes, I'm going to go there. Will it bring in jobs to New Haven, Indiana? Yes, it will. Will there be continuing jobs? Yes, there will be. Will it be a windfall for Indiana, for New Haven? Yes. And if you're talking about crime, you know, former Sheriff, Allen County Sheriff Ken Freeze, he contacted all the sheriffs where the casinos were in the state. They said, no, it didn't raise crime. We had domestic problems, domestic issues, husbands and wives, but it didn't bring any more crime. Plus, it means you got a lot more money for the cities to work with. Now, you may not agree with any of this, but there it is. The bill has been introduced. Will it make it all the way through the House and the Senate? I don't know. But I can tell you this. It has been introduced. How it plays out, what it does, we're going to have to just watch and see. And it still could take 2, 3, 5 years before this happens. Just something for you to know involving the New Haven Casino, where it stands, what it is, and why nobody in this area decided to bring it up. It was political suicide. Hopefully now you understand.
Well, in case you haven't heard, fast food restaurants are in trouble in America. That's right, people are saying, you know what? You jack the prices up so much we can't afford to go for the family. Well, one restaurant chain happens to be, well, the number one restaurant chain as far as fast food goes in America, McDonald's. They have now introduced a new menu for you. And it's a new value menu. And here's the deal. You go to McDonald's, let's say for breakfast. Now, if you choose a sausage McMuffin, a sausage biscuit, a sausage burrito, or hash browns, if you buy one, you could get another one for $1. Boy, that's the new big deal going on at McDonald's for breakfast. Now, if you decide you want to go there for lunch or dinner, or maybe order a 6-piece chicken McNuggets or a double cheeseburger, you buy one, you can get another one for just $1. Now, If you're a family, that probably sounds pretty good. Say buy one, heck, I could get one more, it costs me $1. Save me a little bit of cash, there's nothing wrong with that. But what if you're single? What if you're one person going over to buy lunch or buy breakfast? Well, that ain't necessarily a good deal. But there is one thing that continues at McDonald's, and I'm not doing a commercial for them. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you what's going on, their new way of trying to attract customers. I'm just telling you what's happening. And what happens is that you can get their new $5 lunch. And it's not new. It's been around for a while. And if you haven't tried it, it's actually not too terribly bad. For $5, you could get either your choice of a double cheeseburger or a chicken sandwich. Now, me, I happen to like the chicken sandwich better. With that, you get a small fry, you get a 4-piece chicken McNuggets, and a small drink. Now, me personally, I don't drink caffeine, so I'll get a unsweetened iced tea when I get that. But that's for $5. But now their big deal trying to get you to come back into their restaurants and spend your hard-earned money at their facility is their new value meals. Buy one, get one more for $1, but you're limited as to what you can get. So, like I said, for breakfast, the sausage McMuffin, sausage biscuit, sausage burrito, or the hash browns. And obviously for lunch or dinner, you got the 6-piece chicken nuggets, the double cheeseburger, McChicken sandwich, or small fry. That's the plan at McDonald's. Oh, and by the way, they have a new spokesman. You're going to love this. Their new spokesman selling you burgers and fries and whatever else is John Cena. If you're a wrestling fan, you know who he is, although he has been in movies. So he is now taking a place apparently at Ronald McDonald and will be tempting you and young people to come into McDonald's, open up your wallet, and drop some coinage at McDonald's. At least that's their plan. Will it work? I can't tell you. But right now, if you want a double Big Mac or something like that, or a quarter pounder with cheese, nah. You only get to choose from the chicken nuggets or the double cheeseburger for your buy one, get one free. Is that a good deal? That's not for me to say. But at least now you know what's going on when you deserve a break today at McDonald's. Well, a new publication has come out having to do with Donald Trump, and it shouldn't surprise you. New publications are coming out about him all the time. But this new publication talks about Donald Trump and his vice president. Well, not his current vice president, but who he wanted to have as his vice president. And you're not going to believe this. The person that Donald Trump wanted to have for his vice president was, you ready? Fox News host and financial guru, Maria Bartiromo. That's right, there she is. Maria Bartiromo. She used to be on Wall Street, and she knows the floor on the market. She worked in there. She's a smart lady, and she knows what's going on, and she can hold her own with anybody. However, she's now on Fox, does interviews, and you see her every Sunday morning on her show that she has. She's on the Fox Business Network. She knows business. She knows what's going on. And it turns out that she was a favorite of Donald Trump when it came to interviews. Therefore, Donald Trump said, person I want to be my vice president is Maria Bartiromo. His staff went, whoa, wait a minute. We need to vet her. We got to do a lot of background stuff on this. And ultimately, they decided to go with former J.D. Vance from Congress, Senate, and selected him. Now, he's turned out to be a pretty good choice. He can handle his own, believe me. He's pretty strong, pretty good, and I think he'll do quite well as vice president. But a little history lesson, and now you know that Donald Trump had his own eyes set on who he wanted to be his vice president, a female, a lady. A lady who's tough talking, knows how to talk to America, and already is talking to America because he's very popular on Fox. That's the kind of lady you can see being elected. But would she be the right woman to be the first president of the United States as a female? I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you this is my personal opinion, just me. I think if it were me saying who is going to be the first president, female president of the United States of America, in my humble opinion, I'm looking at Tulsi Gabbard. That's just me. And it could be somebody else. Yeah, they've tried Hillary, they've tried Kamala, They've tried Geraldine Ferraro, if you remember that. But one who I think has got the moxie and could do it, Tulsi Gabbard. Now, Condoleezza Rice was always a popular choice, in my opinion, for a long time. She wants nothing to do with it. But anyway, here you go. Maria Bartiromo. Donald Trump wanted to have her as his vice president. Just goes to show you what history will tell you. And now you know something you didn't know.
So do you remember the company called Kodak back in 1997? Well, back then they had about 160,000 employees. Around 85% of all the photography in the U.S. went through Kodak. Yet with the rise of mobile phones, Kodak failed to adapt, and they eventually went bankrupt, and everybody was let go. That's what happened at Kodak. Same thing sort of happened to other companies. They didn't fail to put out something that was lousy, bad stuff. They just couldn't keep up with the way the situation was happening in the world. Well, looking at the present day, it's hard to imagine how much the world will change in the next decade. Here's the deal. 70 to 90% of today's jobs may vanish within the next 10 years as we enter what's called the fourth industrial revolution. Consider today's leading companies. All right, how about this? Uber is the world's largest taxi service, yet doesn't own any cars. Airbnb is the world's largest accommodations provider, yet they don't own any homes. Hotels, nothing. Similar examples are Paima and Oyo, showing how software and platforms are reshaping our industries. They're all doing different stuff, totally new. Well, the U.S. new lawyers are struggling to find work because the legal software from the IBM Watson can perform legal analysis better and faster. Well, by the year 2030, artificial intelligence, AI, is expected to surpass human intelligence, and that's going to be impacting professions across the board. Now, in healthcare, AI, working with Watson, already has detecting cancer and other diseases more accurately than doctors can do it. And the role of traditional practitioners is shrinking quite rapidly. Now, in transportation, 90% of the cars today on the roads may disappear within the next 20 years. Most vehicles, either electric or hybrid, and the autonomous, those are driverless vehicles, will be dominating the roads. Owning a car may become unnecessary as software like Uber provides on-demand vehicles, and sharing rides will make transportation cheaper than it was than owning a car yourself. And how about this? Driverless technologies is going to be reducing accidents by 99%. And that leads the collapse of the insurance companies. And traffic police, parking staff no longer be needed because the roads will be empty and with all these especially drive-it-yourself vehicles. Now, here's the biggest thing. The demand for oil is going to plummet down the road, potentially bankrupting oil-producing nations. The world is changing, folks. It is changing rapidly. And our survival depends upon our ability to adapt and innovate. Now, those who fail to take the risk, and the big risks we're taking, are going to be left behind in an area and an era of transformation. It's happening in America. We either get on board or we're going to be left in the dust. Something for you to think about what's going to be happening in the next few years in the world in which we live.
Well, America had a chance to watch the funeral of Jimmy Carter, the oldest president, or oldest living president at the time, reached 100 years of age. Jimmy Carter was the president back in the 1970s, right after Gerald Ford, because America was angry at Gerald Ford for pardoning Richard Nixon back in the 70s, and they elected Jimmy Carter. Now, Jimmy Carter was an Annapolis grad, worked on a submarine and the nuclear submarine stuff, governor of Georgia, plain old everyday peanut farmer, his wife Rosalind, average folk, regular people. And America said, we're going to elect Jimmy Carter. Now, they did that for one term until, well, the interest rates in America just literally exploded. I mean, 20% I'm seeing. And then we had the Iran hostage situation where 50-some Americans were taken hostage in Iran for 444 days. Ultimately, America said, hey, we're going to go with this guy named Ronald Reagan, and they did. Well, Jimmy Carter passed away, and his funeral was held at the big cathedral in Washington, D.C., and that's perfectly fine. And you saw all the former presidents there. I mean, going back to Bill Clinton, going back to George and Laura Bush were there. Donald Trump and his wife were there. The husbands and wives were all there. Even Joe Biden and his wife and Vice President Jill and her husband were there. Everybody had their spouses with them, except one person. That one person was Barack Obama. And for whatever reason, his wife, Michelle Obama, did not make the trip. And people were asking questions. What the heck's going on here? Where's Michelle? Every other wife is there honoring Jimmy Carter, saying thank you, goodbye, and everything else. No Michelle Obama. So where was she? Well, the questions that were asked. And the answer came back, she's in Hawaii. What? Yeah, she's at their mansion in Hawaii. And for whatever reason, her schedule was so difficult or so tough or so tight that she herself could not break away from their Hawaii mansion, fly all the way across the pond in the United States, all the way to Washington, D.C., to honor a former president. Her husband did. All the other presidents who were alive did. But for whatever reason, she did not. Beyond that, I can't tell you. I don't know. I'm just telling you what their people are saying when asked. Was she a friend of Jimmy Carter? I don't know. Was she an enemy of Jimmy Carter? I don't know. For whatever reason, she decided she didn't want to be in that group of former presidents and their wives sitting in the cathedral in Washington to show respect to the passing and the death of former President Jimmy Carter. Just something for you to ponder. And now you know.
Well, Donald Trump has just announced who is going to be the spokesperson for the Secretary of State. Now, as you know, Marco Rubio has been appointed to that position, but the spokesperson in that department has to be somebody really strong, outgoing, and able to take on the media. And you know who Donald Trump chose to be the spokesperson for the Secretary of State? None other than Tammy Bruce. Now, I don't know if you know who Tammy Bruce is. Well, the media is going, oh my God, he's appointed a lesbian to be the spokesperson for the state. I don't care. I just want to know who she is, and I'll tell you who Tammy Bruce is. She was a flaming liberal back in the 1990s, and suddenly she saw what was going on, and she went, wait a minute, this doesn't work. And so you know what? She left the party. She left the group, and she is no longer a flaming liberal. She is a very strong conservative. That's right. Tammy Bruce is a very strong conservative. Now, if you're one of those people that watches Fox News, you've probably seen her on shows like Outnumbered and so many others various shows. She comes on as a spokesman. I don't care if she's a lesbian. It means nothing to me. What it means is she a strong spokesman for the Department of the Secretary of State to be Marco's spokesman, his voice, if you will. You got to have somebody that's strong, that tells it like it is, that talks to the media, and basically puts them in their place. I believe she is good enough to do that, and I am glad the fact that she's been picked to be the spokesman for Marco Rubio. You know, Marco's fine. I think he'll do the best he can because that's what he likes doing. But dealing with the media at the Department of State, you got to take on that horde. That's a grisly horde, folks. And it takes somebody who's got the guts, the style, the panache, and the attitude that Tammy Bruce has. So, regardless of what you happen to think about her sexual preference, I couldn't give a squat less. It means nothing to me. What it means to me is she good at what she does? Will she be standing out there and taking on the slings and arrows that the media wants to throw? Yes, she will. And will she tell them exactly what's going on and what they need to know and when they need to know it? I believe she will. So now you know. Donald Trump has selected Tammy Bruce. I don't care if she's a lesbian. It means nothing. Is she good at what she does? Oh, yeah. Is she going to be a great spokesperson for Department of State? I believe she will. That's my take on it, and that's the way I see it. And right now, I think this is a great job for her, and I think she'll do really well at the Department of State. Can you imagine a world powered by clean, limitless energy? The Arc Fusion Power Plant is set to make it a reality. You heard me right. The Arc Fusion Power Plant is about to go online. Now, fusion power plants expected to be operational in the early 2030s. That's not very far away, folks. Fusion power. Now, Commonwealth Fusion Systems, called CFS, is an MIT spinoff and is set to build the world's first grid-scale commercial fusion power plant in Chester County, Virginia. Now, known as the ARC, the plant is projected to deliver, are you ready? 400 megawatts of electricity. That's enough to power 150,000 homes. And here's what it looks like. This is a major leap in the quest for clean, sustainable energy. We're not burning coal, we're not burning gas. This is nuclear fusion. And the fusion energy is powered by hydrogen and lithium isotopes. There's no harmful emissions or toxic waste. None of that there left over. It's a game changer for decarbonizing the energy sector. Now, CFS, the demonstration machine that's called Spark, is currently under development in Massachusetts, and they figure it's going to do the first plasma output in 2026, which is coming up, and that's going to pave the way for the ARC's successful implementation. Imagine, new source of energy, not oil, not coal, not gas. It's, well, fusion. And the project promises some far-reaching benefits, including billions in economic impact, the creation of hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs in construction and in operation. And the coolest thing is, well, we'd be getting off of oil, getting off of gas, and getting off of anything that we say can pollute the atmosphere. This is something like out of Star Trek, if you think about it. It's creating fusion, and it's a plant they're actually working on. You can see what it looks like. They're actually testing it out at MIT right now. They're making things happen. And it's, I don't know, it's like something out of, like I said, something out of Star Trek. Little fusion going on involving hydrogen and lithium isotopes. Somehow they make things happen, and out of that comes power. And power is what makes the world go around. So, is something happening soon that could be revolutionary to our world? Afraid so, folks. It's coming. And maybe it's coming at the right time, because there's only a certain amount of oil in the entire world. Are we using it up? Yes. But is there something coming up in the future that may be even better and will last longer? I believe there is. It's called fusion power. And that's the name of the game that you and I will be seeing very, very soon. Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of the site called Snopes, S-N-O-P-E-S? Snopes is a fact-checking organization headed up by their CEO. His name is Chris Richmond. And they have been around a long time, and you see a lot of things if you publish something on a social media site like Facebook or some of the other places, and suddenly you get a retraction in there, if you will, saying it comes from Snopes. They've investigated it. And Snopes says, well, we don't agree, it was wrong, it was incorrect, whatever you were writing. Well, here's the thing. Remember when the Hunter Biden laptop story came out from the New York Post? That was a long time ago, and I understand that. The Post broke the entire thing open. Well, according to the CEO of Snopes, he said it wasn't us that told Facebook to shut that story down and not publish the story about where Hunter Biden's laptop or what it contained. He said, well, that was the government who made them do that, not us, but we're getting the blame. Well, what he's really talking about is he's being fired. That's right. You see, Mark Zuckerberg says this thing of fact checking from Snopes and apparently other folks, he said it's reached its ending point. He said, I'm getting this thing done, and I'm going to follow what Elon Musk did on his social media site, X, which used to be Twitter, having a community involvement in this stuff, and let that get cleaned up that way and not have an organization coming in and saying, no, we're a third party, and we're going to say what's right and what's wrong according to, well, what we believe. At least that's what the CEO of Snopes, Chris Richmond, is saying. Now, what we know right now is this. Mark Zuckerberg said, Snopes, you're out. We're not using you anymore. We're going to let the community clean up itself. Snopes is not very happy about this because they've been fired. Now, I don't know how much money they were being paid. I couldn't tell you, and it really doesn't matter to me. What we're learning now is that suddenly organizations are saying, you know, this stuff of letting people tell us what to do, and we're the fact checkers and we know more than everybody else does, they're saying, you know, maybe that's not right. Maybe that's not correct. Let the system correct itself, what they're saying. So, Elon Musk has changed X. Mark Zuckerberg is changing Facebook. I'm not sure about any of the other social media sites. I don't know what they're doing. But now we know that Mr. Zuckerberg has decided that Snopes is no longer the fact checker on his website, on his social media site. Maybe that's for the best. Only time will tell. But now we do know that the CEO of Snopes is very unhappy with Mr. Zuckerberg because his company was fired. Probably a smart thing for a CEO to do, but is it going to make the company better? Only time will tell. Well, in case you haven't heard, America's got a housing shortage. More and more people are looking for a house or a place to live, whether it's an apartment or a house or what have you, and they're having a hard time finding it because, well, they're not building as much as they used to. The cost to build is exorbitant. Getting the parts, getting the equipment, getting the wood, the labor, and everything is getting to be bad. But some developers have come up with a rather creative and unique idea in the way to create more housing. And believe it or not, some folks like it. Here's the thing. You know, for many years, we loved shopping malls. Having a big shopping mall, completely enclosed, you walked around, it was the middle of the winter, you didn't care, and you walked from one end to the other. And that was great. Shopping mall, everything was in the shopping mall. Problem was America's taste declined, and people stopped shopping at big shopping malls. It got to be a giant pain in the keister. You know, finding a place to park and then getting in the particular entrance. They said, you know, let's go to other stores. We can just drive in front, park at them, get in, get our stuff to the store, and get out. We don't have to go to a giant mall and wander around. Well, you know what? That ended the demise of shopping malls in many cases. Here in Fort Wayne, remember Southtown Mall? It's gone, torn down. And if you take a look at our mall, Glenbrook, which used to be one of the biggest malls around, well, a lot of those big anchor stores are gone. Anybody remember Sears? Anybody remember L.S. Ayers? J.C. Penney? Macy's? A lot of those big box stores, some of them not making it, and the money that they earn, and you can see the money has been dropping for the big box stores, and big time drop. Well, what's happened is a number of developers have said, hey, you know what? What if we take those giant buildings and refurbish them and change them and turn them into places where people can live? Now, you look in cities, they're taking old buildings downtown and taking them and refurbishing them and turning them into apartments. Nice apartments. Old buildings have a certain je ne sais quoi, a charm, if you will. Well, here's one case that's happening right here in our state of Indiana, Lafayette and the Lafayette Square Mall in Indianapolis. That used to be a big standard mall, but now, seen better times. Developers have decided to take it over and built 1,200 apartments. You heard me right, 1,200 apartments. Now, here's the cool thing. A lot of these malls now, they're connected. These apartment complexes are connected to the malls. So some of the stores are still staying open. Not the big box stores, but the smaller stores. And I don't want to use the word mom and pop stores, but the smaller stores are staying open. So people who live in these refurbished big stores, the big anchor stores at the malls, can now just walk to their location of a store. Maybe it's a place to get groceries. Maybe it's a place to get ice cream. Who knows? And they're right there. They can get that and never have to go outside. And the developers have figured out they got these big parking lots. People can park their cars. So they're turning out, they're refurbishing. That's what they're doing. They're refurbishing these big stores, these big box stores in the malls, into living places. And right now it's happening in Indiana, Lafayette Square Mall, 1,200 apartments. Is that the next plan for living? and for building apartments and places for people to live in the United States? It may very well be, because now the malls, if they can get through the problems involving all the legal stuff, the zoning and all the other things that it goes with it, they can figure all that out. Just maybe there's a place where people could live. In a mall? Yep, it is happening, folks. And all you got to do is wander down and see Lafayette Square, 1,200 apartments. Something new, but it's a great use of a current facility. Just something for you to think about. In case you didn't know, this is the way the housing world is going. I don't know if you were fortunate enough to be able to watch the hearings on television involving Pete Hegseth being interviewed by members of the U.S. Senate to see if he was going to be qualified to be the Secretary of Defense. Well, I sat there and watched the entire thing, and one of the things I noticed they wanted to beat him up on was his lack of experience and how much background he had, and can he manage 3 million people in the United States military? And I got to thinking, well, they kept saying he doesn't have the experience. You're only a major. You only commanded a platoon or a company or whatever. So you go, you don't really have a lot of experience. You don't know what you're doing. Why should you be the Secretary of Defense? So I recalled back doing a few weeks ago, I did a background check on Secretary of Defenses, who had served, what their experience was in the military, and if they were confirmed as Secretaries of Defense. And I thought, let's see what I learned a few weeks ago. So here you go. Take a look at what I learned of the Secretaries of Defenses previously and their experience in the United States military and, well, how well they did. Take a look at what I recorded a few weeks ago, and you decide what you think.
Gee, let me see what the other Secretaries of Defense, what their background was. So I went back and took a look at all the Secretaries of Defenses. Thomas Gates, 53 years old when he was appointed, 0 military experience. Melvin Laird, he was a Navy junior grade officer. Pete's a major, much higher. That's all Melvin Laird was. Robert McNamara was a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army during World War II, served from 43 to 46. Jim Schlesinger. Jim Schlesinger was the SecDef. He had no military experience whatsoever. Let's keep this in context. And Dick Cheney, this is the one that really amazed me. Dick Cheney had no experience as a Secretary of Defense. It turns out during the Vietnam War, he was a draft dodger. I don't care what you call it. He pulled off every stunt you could, and he was quoted as saying, why did he join the military? He said, I had other priorities. Yet he was Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney. No experience. William Cohen, Secretary of Defense, no experience in the military whatsoever. Leon Panetta, hey, he was a second lieutenant. Woohoo! Man, he went really high up there. And Chuck Hagel. Chuck Hagel is the Secretary of Defense. He was an Army E5. So don't give me that experience stuff going on.
Well, there you go. That's what people did in the past. People wanted to be Secretary of Defense, their background, their qualifications, and now you know what they were qualified to do, and they actually became Secretaries of Defense. Will Pete Hegseth be voted in by the Senate? Right now, I don't know, but I can tell you this. I think he can hold his own, and I think he can do a good job. My opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Revelations seem to come back every single day about things that happened during various administrations. Whether it's a Republican administration or a Democrat administration, as they reach the end of that particular administration, things start to come out. And in this case, in the Biden administration, a thunderbolt has just come out involving Facebook. Now, a lot of Americans are on Facebook. As a matter of fact, Facebook deals mostly with adults. The young people of today have said, no, we don't want to be on Facebook. We want to be on a different social media site like TikTok or whatever. So they've left Facebook for the adults in the family. And that's where a lot of adults happen to go for their information, their particular social media contact. Well, Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan Experience. You've heard of Joe Rogan. Well, he said in the Joe Rogan Experience that he said, quote, basically, these people of the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, he said. So it got to the point where we were in like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. But Zuckerberg admitted that his social media platform, Facebook, did in fact remove stuff because the Biden administration threatened them. Now, I don't know what kind of threats they made, and that wasn't released in this particular story that came out, but you could imagine if they're calling someone up and cursing and swearing at them, demanding things be taken down, there might be a little something there going on. If you don't do X, we're going to do Y. And maybe that's something that happened. Zuckerberg didn't say that did, didn't say they didn't, so we don't know. But now the administration spokesman said, well, we have to do what we have to do to keep the public safe, or something close to that. So they said, well, we didn't really do anything wrong. We were just trying to keep America safe. Well, that's debatable when you call somebody up and threaten and curse them. I don't know if you're keeping America safe at that point, or you're threatening to say, we don't like what you're saying about our particular side, and you had better take it down or else. Now, the fact that Zuckerberg is saying that, hey, we're not going to do that anymore because a new administration is coming in, hey, we're just kowtowing to the new administration, whatever they want. It's a hard way to flow, folks. You don't know if you're good, you're bad, you're doing the right thing, or doing the wrong thing. But now we know, at least, we have found out that one particular social media site, i.e. Facebook, was coerced by members of the Biden administration who said either you do it this way or who knows what else they could do to you. So, makes you wonder, how much were they actually forcing Facebook not to say, not to reveal, not to discuss? I'm not sure we'll ever know that. But here's what we do know. These are the kind of games that people play when they want to make sure they stay in power and that nothing affects that. Did it work in this case? I don't think it did, because I think America got tired of what was going on and finally said, enough is enough. Now you know something you probably didn't know about Facebook and how people can try to make things go their way. Here's something for you to consider. A new study that came out of the University of Michigan has concluded that it's impossible to mine enough copper to meet the push for EV transition. EV, electric vehicles? Not only can't it meet the copper needs for the vehicles themselves, but our power grid, that's where we get all electricity, that can't support it. It won't work. According to this study, a normal Honda Accord needs about 40 pounds of copper. The same battery electric Honda Accord needs almost 200 pounds of copper. Now, onshore wind turbines require about 10 tons of copper, and offshore wind turbines, that amount can actually double, and that's according to Adam Simon, a professor of Earth and Environmental Studies at the University of Michigan. He said, we show in paper that the amount of copper needed is essentially impossible for mining companies to produce. Did you hear what he said? Companies can't do it. The study found that almost between the year 2018 and 2050, the world will need to mine, are you ready? 115% more copper than has been mined in all of American or U.S. history up until 2018, just to meet our normal business needs. Now, this would mean the U.S. current copper needs, as well as supporting the developing world without considering the green energy transition. I mean, you can't go green. You're mining copper. That's all you're doing. And folks, that's possible. You can't do it. So, as predicted by others, there ain't no way you can do this. So the push for the move to from the internal combustion engine to EVs is simply unrealistic. You can't do it, folks, because the technologies, it's not there. And based on what we need, We don't have the ability to do it and can't do it. But copper, as we pointed out, is only one material which is being shown to be lacking. And there's a whole bunch more that we haven't even thought about yet. So, we're stuck with oil for the time being. And whether we like it or not, that is the monster that we have to feed. And oil is used to make just about everything you can think of. It isn't just powering your car or your airplanes. It has derivatives that we make just about everything with it. Whether you like it or not, we are stuck with the concept of oil. And we're going to have to keep feeding that beast whether we like it or not. We just can't go to EVs in a heartbeat. Is it going to happen, folks? We don't have the material to do it. And where we find it may not be in the best countries we have relationships with. So just stay vigilant. But just remember, right now, America, we are stuck with oil. And we're going to be stuck with it for the foreseeable future until we can create something else that works better and fills all the needs for everything we have in this world. Well, I'd like to talk to you baby boomers in the audience, those of you born between, say, 1946 and 1964, and maybe from the 65 to around 85. You folks in those two demographics, I want to talk to you about albums. Now, a lot of folks, younger folks, don't even know what an album is, and well, maybe they do. This is the big kind of thing. Ended up there. That's what people played on record players. No, well, turntables they call them, and those are actually making a comeback in today's society. We went from turntables to 8-tracks to cassettes to CDs. Well, now we're working our way back to turntables again. People are saying, "Boy, that's where you really hear music." All right. So here's the thing. Here is a list of the top 50 selling albums, not records, not tapes. Top 50 selling albums of all time. Take a look at this list. And as you can see, the number one selling album of all time was Michael Jackson's Thriller. Now, I was kind of wondering, okay, where's Stevie Wonder in this mess? Because Stevie Wonder was a very, very popular artist. And he won multiple awards, Grammy, you name it, he won the awards. Is Stevie Wonder anywhere on this list? Well, not that I could find. Stevie Wonder, no way he's showing up. But there's Michael Jackson, Thriller, 70 million. Number 2 on the list was AC/DC and their Back in Black. That did 50 million copies. Now think of that, 50 million copies. Number 3, the Bodyguard soundtrack. Now here's a soundtrack from a movie that ends up selling 45 million copies. That's Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston. A movie selling number 3 of all-time albums. There it is. Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon came in number 4 with 45 million. And, believe it or not, the Eagles. A very good group, let's be honest. Eagles were a top-selling group. Eagles with their greatest hits, 1971 to 75. 44 million copies of that sold. Then Meatloaf, and who could not like Meatloaf with a Bat Out of Hell? Some of the best songs ever of Meatloaf. You know, there's so many songs of Meatloaf, it's just tremendous. That came in at number 6 with 43 million. The Eagles, once again, 2 times. Hotel California. That was number 7 on the list with another 42 million. And if you want to get a little country area, and I'm just using that lightly, Shania Twain. Shania Twain had herself, with the album Come On Over, 40 million, and she was number 8 on the list. Now, number 9. And this is a bit surprising because I thought it'd be higher than this. Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. That did 40 million copies. And to round out the top 10, another movie. You heard me right. 2 movies in the top 10 albums ever sold. Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, number 10, and that sold 40 million copies. You know, the music industry changes over the years. But we baby boomers and millennials, after that, we probably lived in some of the greatest music era in the history of modern mankind. We heard songs and songs you could actually understand, you could dance to, you could listen to, and you understood. Same might not be said today, but music is what music is. We got the good stuff. And frankly, we're proud of it. But now you know, what were the top selling albums of all time? Number 1 believe it or not, was Michael Jackson and Thriller. And now you know.